Ashley?
Yes, we are live. Give me 1 second. Okay, we are live.
Ready when you are, Mr. Franco Pacheco.
Okay, I call this joint meeting of the Parks and Rec Commission to order. And our Parks and Rec and Art History meeting to order. Roll call.
I will start with the Art and History Commission. Commissioner Avery,
Here, present.
Commissioner Silveria,
She's muted.
I'm here.
Commissioner Merritt, absent. Commissioner Russell,
Present.
Commissioner Brown, Vice Chair Brown,
Present.
and Chair Tyler.
Present.
For the record, Art and History Commission has a quorum. For Parks and Rec Commission, Commissioner Daniels,
Present.
Commissioner Moulton,
Present.
Commissioner Nielsen,
Here.
Commissioner Gray, absent. Commissioner Gaines Lynch,
Present.
Commissioner White, see him here.
He's here.
James, can you answer? All right, he's visible on the screen. Commissioner Cadigan,
Here.
Vice Chair Maxwell,
Present.
and Chair Pacheco.
Present.
Parks and Recreation Commission has a quorum. Are you ready to move forward, Chair Pacheco?
I am. Okay, moving on to business item number 2, our only business item, 2A. Review application for naming of parks, streets, and city-owned buildings and recreational facilities for naming a street after former City of Seaside City Manager Tim Brown and make recommendation to City Council. Mr. Mullis, can you brief us and then we'll go from there?
Absolutely. So the Recreation Department received an application to name a street after former city manager, Mr. Brown. And with that, I will share my screen and go into a presentation, and then we can open it up for discussion among the commission from there. So just give me 1 second. All right. So we're here to discuss the City of Seaside Park Recreation Facility, city-owned building and street naming policy for request for naming a street after former city manager Tim Brown. So the purpose is to establish a uniform policy regarding requests for the naming or renaming of city-owned land and facilities, including parks, recreation facilities, buildings, streets, and the designation of commemorative street names and plaques that are compatible with the community interest and will enhance the values and heritage of the city of Seaside. So this application, so under section 3, the naming criteria, under item B of streets, name shall be easily discernible and simple to pronounce for public safety considerations. Similar sounding or duplicate names shall not be considered. Names with the same theme are suggested for naming streets and entire subdivision as a means of general identification. Streets shall not contain more than 18 letters or characters. Names for public and private streets and new subdivisions shall be proposed by the developer, reviewed by the Planning Commission, and approved by the City Council. Street names that are adopted by the city when the final subdivision map for development is recorded. So section 3 goes over the naming criteria and commemorative streets and plaques. So naming after an individual who has served as a city official or a city employee shall occur after the person has separated from the city service or should be based on the following criteria: made contribution over and above the normal duties required by their position, had a positive impact on the past and future development of programs, projects, or other facilities in the city of Seaside, made a significant volunteer contributions to the community outside the scope of their job, had exceptionally long tenure with the city of Seaside, a minimum of 10 years, significant public support for memorial to the city official or city employee on the occasion of their death or retirement. So section 4 is the naming procedure. All requests shall be submitted in writing on the standard application form. Fees associated with the administrative and hard costs for the sign or plaque placement. Application fee has been established and will be based on the most current adopted city's fee and charges schedule. The payment of the application fee is required at the time of application submission. The applicant shall be able to provide clear evidence that the individual to be honored has made significant contribution to the economic vitality and/or quality of life in the Seaside community. And the application will be reviewed for completeness basis upon the naming criteria by staff in the Resource Management Services Department. And all recommendations or suggestions will be given the same consideration without regard to the nomination source. Continuing on the naming procedure, completed applications will be forwarded concurrently for review to the Parks and Recreation Commission and the Historical Commission at the regularly scheduled meeting within a 30-day period. Notice of intent to name a park, recreation facility, city-owned building, or commemorative naming of a street shall be posted in public places and published in the city's paper of record during the same 30-day review period of the city's commissions. And after the 30-day review period and public comment period, the request will be placed in the agenda for the next regularly scheduled city council meeting as a notice public hearing for the city council's consideration. So in response to the application criteria, questions that were answered, has made lasting and significant contributions to the protection of natural cultural resources. Mr. Brown led a team that procured 4,000 acres of federal properties under FORA, and it earned a presidential citation from President Clinton for land use planning to convert a military installation for civilian use. Another question was, has made substantial contributions to the betterment of specific facility or park consistent with the established standards for the facility or to the city of Seaside, which has positively impacted the lives of citizens. Mayor Jordan and City Manager Brown made dozens of trips to Washington to lobby representatives in Congress and the Clinton administration to give Seaside its share of land, including the golf courses and development rights for the Army. This brought growth and job opportunities for the city and continues to have a positive impact to this day. Continuing on, is associated with an economic development or redevelopment activity that meets the mission of the city of Seaside and improves the quality of life for its residents. When FORA was formed in 1994, the Fort Ord Reuse Plan included the creation of a new CSU campus. At the time, Tim Brown stated, As Seaside adjusted to the loss of Fort Ord, it has a responsibility to plan for the future with the transition to an educational community base with the opening of the new university campus. City Manager Brown was also responsible for the acquisition of the Black Horse Bayonet Golf Course from the Army, as well as Embassy Suites Hotel project. These projects meet the economic and redevelopment mission, as well as improving the quality of life for the residents. And then part of the written justification is Tim Brown dedicated his life to public service, and over the years, his work benefited a lot of cities, but the work he was most proud of was the work he did while serving as the city manager for the city of Seaside. He was city manager from 94 to 98, passed away in 2011, and would have been 75 this year. While City Manager Brown had his fair share of critics, former Mayor Felix Bachhoffner said, part of the reason Tim Brown was controversial was because there was just a lot of political controversy at that time. We had different visions, but he did a number of things that did benefit the city. And that was from Monterey Herald in November of 2011. So with that, I will entertain any questions.
What's
Oh, okay.
Hold on. Chair Pacheco, why don't you start with going with commission by commission? And then if
Okay.
everyone would raise their hands, that would help Chair Pacheco get through.
Thank you, Mr. Mulis. We'll start with the arts and history. Commissioner Tyler?
Yes, I have a question. How long was Mr. Brown associated with the city of Seaside?
4 years.
He was employed with the city for 4 years.
Isn't there
It
a rule
says
that he
there
has
are
to
10.
have been 10 years? Isn't
That was
that in the
one of
specs?
that was a piece of the application, yes, or the policy.
So this would be contrary to policy then?
I mean, it's up to, yeah, I mean, based on that, but the commission can still review it and, make recommendations.
Okay, next
What
hand,
about
please.
the policy then? Okay.
Okay, Mr. Tyler, we're gonna keep going. Thank you for your input. Commissioner Cadigan?
I'd like to make a motion that the application be denied due to the fact that it's contrary to current city policy.
I second that.
I second.
Second.
Well, now that
Yes.
it's been motioned, we now need to go to public comment.
Okay, let's open up to public comment. Ms. Colick, do we have anybody on?
Public wishing to make public comment, please use the raise your hand function. Dan, are you going to do the clock for me? Please.
Hold on, I have to pull it up, hold on.
Okay, give us 1 second, guys. We do have a list of hands in the audience. We do have quite a few attendees.
I can't hear any of this.
We haven't started yet, Commissioner Tyler.
Oh, okay.
We're getting set up still.
Yeah, give us a couple more seconds. So we want to make sure there we go. Alex Miller, you may unmute yourself. You have 2 minutes.
Hi, this is Alex Miller. I'm on the Neighborhood Improvement Commission. Just letting everybody know that we had a budget review and we have items with both commissions coming up pending before with our budget. In regards to the item tonight, I think you guys are on the right path. We need to stick by city policy so that we are consistent throughout all the commissions. And please, please, please contact me so we can move forward on the projects with NIC and with the other commissions. Thanks for your hard.
Thank you for your comments. Carol McKibben, you may unmute yourself.
Thank you. And I can't do the visual here. Let's see. Anyway, I'm the author of Racial Beachhead, which is all about Seaside, the history of Seaside. And I urge you to make an exception to that tiny bit of criteria. Tim Brown may have only been city manager for 4 years, but he had an outsized impact on the city of Seaside. In fact, he's really responsible for Seaside recovering from this enormous economic disaster of Fort Ord leaving the area. And it didn't just take its economy, it took its personnel when it left. So Tim Brown was tirelessly supportive, and he was really badly treated when he left the city. And he was working at a very, very challenging time, not just in Seaside history, but in the context of urban America. When I teach these courses at Stanford on urban California, I use Seaside as an example of a city that was able to bounce back because of him. He did so much that was so important, and he is not, and this is an honor that he absolutely deserves. So I don't think that enough, I can emphasize enough how critically important he was in Seaside's recovery and its moving forward, and to not allow this because his tenure was not quite as long as it might have been, or because there was a rule about that, doesn't seem at all fair to me. I hope you will reconsider. Thank you.
The public wishing to make a comment, please raise your hand.
Ashley, I believe the applicant is present under the Browns. So can you,
And there's two, there are two and I can allow them one at a time. So here, let's see, there we go. Okay, the Browns, you go ahead and unmute yourself.
Okay, great. Yeah, turn that off. Okay, we were having some technical difficulties over here. My apologies. First of all, I just want to thank the committee for coming together today to do this special joint meeting. I understand that part of the criteria is that you have to be there for 10 years. But at the same time, the reality is exactly what Carol said and stated so beautifully. I think when you look at the lasting impact of the work and contributions that my father made to the city, I believe that they're significant enough that he is deserving of such an honor, especially in the area of the golf courses that are in the process of being redeveloped. Those golf courses are there in the city limits and in the control of Seaside, in major part to the work that my father did while he was city manager. There was a lot of restructuring that was trying to be done at that time. Everyone wanted a piece of that area, all of the cities on the Monterey Peninsula. And my father worked tirelessly to make sure that the city of Seaside was able to reap the benefits of the restructuring of Fort Ord, was able to reap the benefits of making sure they kept those golf courses. He is responsible and played a major role in the completion of the construction of Embassy Suites within the city. He was responsible for establishing the first teen center for the youth in the city so that they had a safe space to hang out. I mean, When I think, and these are just a few things that I'm rattling off, you know, he attracted so many developers to the city, people who were willing to invest their money and their time to the city so that we could have the economic growth and bring about the employment opportunities for the residents at that time. And this was going on during a period in which people were not trying to come to Seaside and bring their dollars. They were not trying to build homes. They were not trying to build shopping malls. They were not trying to build, you know, restaurants. All of this business was going to the neighboring cities like Carmel and Monterey, cities that had a bigger name recognition. And I do truly believe that the work that my father did while he was there, because it has such a lasting impact upon what is going on today, it is worthy of having a name in his honor, a street named in his honor. And if there's development going on and there's streets that are going to be, you know, built and developed that need a name, I do believe that one of those streets should bear the name Tim Brown.
Thank you for your comments. Ms. Helen Rucker, you may unmute yourself to talk.
There you go. Hello, I've been trying to get on.
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Yes, thank you very much. It's a little complicated for me. At age 88, it isn't easy for me to do new things, so I'm having a little difficulty. I want you to know that I'm Helen Rucker, and I don't know most of the people on this committee because you're new to me. But I'm very happy that you are taking this item up, and I want to speak for Tim Brown. I know his daughter spoke elegantly to you, and I knew Tim. I probably voted for him to become city manager because I was either on the city council or I was on the next city council. Anyway, I am very happy that you guys are wanting to learn a little bit about your history, because most of you on this committee do not have a long history as I have with this city. And like I said, his daughter explained a whole lot of what he did. And I hope that you, the rest of you, will take the time to not just say, oh, he doesn't qualify, so we'll throw him off the list. I think he is well deserving of being honored in this way. I spent a lot of time going places with him because he took me to all kinds of meetings. I went to one meeting in South Carolina that was to put Seaside on the map, because nobody from these federal governments were know where Seaside was, even where we were in the scheme of things of trying to get federal the golf courses and the other properties when the Army closed Fort R down. So I would beg you to please rescind what you just did, and I hope that you will take time to learn about those of us who came before you and did some marvelous things for Seaside. Thank you. Okay, I'll turn it off now.
Miss Ruthie Watts, would you like to speak? You may speak. You have the floor. Okay, seeing no more hands.
She's muted.
Oh, there we go. Let's try it again. Mrs. Watts, would you like to speak? I'm unable to unmute her. Let's see. One second.
This is Alice Jordan.
Mrs. Jordan, go ahead. We can hear you.
Okay, let me put this down. Okay. Again, my name is Alice Jordan, and I would urge this commission to honor Tim Brown by overlooking the number of years. In fact, I was always taught, even though this is a policy, I was always taught it's not the quantity, but it's the quality. And the quality of work that Don, and I have, Don Jordan is my spouse. The two of them took so many trips to Washington, D.C. to make sure that with the loss of Fort Ord, that we had some economic advantages, making the city of Seaside a destination and not just a pass through to the other city. I hear some background and I'm not sure if that's maybe. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you.
Okay. So I am speaking on behalf of Tim Brown and naming a street to honor him. Now, he worked with former Mayor Don Jordan, and I do know that they worked so well together to move this city forward. It was not about Don alone. It was not about Tim, but it was about them working together with a mission for the city of Seaside. I don't have to go through all of the names of what they have done here in the city of Seaside to move it forward. I do know that a lot of work was put forth because as Tim Brown's daughter spoke, people weren't willing to come to Seaside at that time. They had to really recruit. And I won't talk about the financial situation that the city was in at that particular time where they could not recruit people. Ms. Rucker spoke about that. So I'm asking you, if you're looking at the number of years that it is going to take for you to qualify this individual, I would ask you, who has been here that number of years that you could name a street afterwards? So I think they should go hand in hand, and maybe we should revisit those 4 years. Because I know Don Jordan was here a very long time and was able to work with Tim to move this city forward. With the university, so I'm asking you to reconsider your decision based on the fact that he was only here 4 years. Thank you. Let's honor Tim Brown.
Thank you for your comments. Let's see. Okay, please use the raise your hand function if you'd like to make a public comment. And okay. Let's see, Mrs. Watts, we're gonna try again. I'm gonna ask you to unmute.
Hello.
Hi, we can hear you.
Okay. I said my name is Lucy Watts, and I stand with the other committee that you name a street in honor of Mr. Brown. I worked with him while he was here, and as I don't want to be redundant of what have already been said, but I also worked with him when he was working with the Embassy Suites in the Cal State University, Monterey Bay, and he did so much for the city. He was well known in the city for doing great things for the city of Seaside. And for you to deny him the opportunity to have a name named after him, I think it's kind of slap in the face for a man who did so much for the city of Seaside. He helped to put the city of Seaside on the map. And I do hope that you will consider naming the street after him because he's well deserving of such an honor.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone else wishing to make public comment, please use the raise your hand function. Public comment is still open. Okay, Chair Pacheco, seeing no new hands.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Colick. And thank you, public, for your comments and for your insight. Let's go back to our commissioners. Do we have any commissioners at this time who would like to speak to this topic?
Do we have a motion on the floor?
We just went to public comment. We can now go. I'm giving
Hold
our,
on. Point of clarification, there is a motion on the floor and there was a second. So now it's on the question. So now all the commissioners now have an opportunity to respond on the question.
thank you, Dan. I'm not seeing anyone. Okay, Ms. Avery?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello? Oh, okay. Yeah, I wanted to respond, but then it was the motion that was made. However, I wanted to make a comment. I personally did not know Mr. Brown. However, my parents did, and they always spoke highly of him. And I think that for the 10-year limit, I think maybe that needs to be revisited. And I think there needs to be an exception made, because I do, remember there was a time when Seaside wasn't even on any of the local maps at all. And so I think that it needs to be, need to look at what the person has done and not look at how many years. People could be here for many, many years and not really, have done anything, and others could just a few years and have, as stated before by several individuals, the impact that was done for the city.
Thank you, Commissioner Avery. Commissioner Daniels?
I would also like to reiterate that the 10-year policy needs to be revisited. I do believe that was a crucial time. I do not have the experience of living during that time, so I would like to go off the knowledge of my elders, and we've had numerous elders come and speak to the dignity of this man and the character, and also how critical that time was during the development of Seaside, and how the lasting effects has lasted even until 2021. I would say that this needs to be put on the forefront, and an exception should be made as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Daniels. Commissioner Tyler?
Yes, Dan, I have a question. Does either one of the commissions have the power to offset city policy? I mean, city policy clearly says 10 years, and it's not really a question of whether or not the man should be honored, and it certainly sounds like he should be. But the policy clearly states 10 years, and it's the city council that amends that particular policy. Do we have the right to supersede the city council?
So what's going on tonight is actually you guys are making a recommendation that will go to the city council. So if you want to you can recommend it however you would like. Either way, it's still going to go to the city council for them as well. So you want to, state that, you don't want to recommend it based on the tenure. That's, up to the commission. But if you want to recommend it, even though they didn't meet that tenure, that's also a viable option as well.
Thank you for the clarification, Mr. Munoz. All right, Commissioner Gaines Lynch.
Hi, I was going to speak to the same language as Commissioner Tyler spoke to, as to if we did even have the power to supersede the statement of it, one has to have 10 years within the city. It's not necessarily as the city manager, but it's putting in 10 years with the city in some capacity. So that was going to be my recommendation, that we took it to the city council and asked them if they would lift the 10-year rule or not.
Yeah.
But as the rule goes, it's 10 years, so.
Okay.
I do understand several have spoken, but rules are rules, as I've always heard.
Okay. Ms. Avery, is your hand still up from the previous comment, or are you?
No. No, it's not.
Okay. So do you have another comment, or are you?
Well, I think, sometimes, rules are made to be broken. That would be my comment on that.
Thank you. Currently, we do have a motion and a second to deny. Oh, Commissioner Cadigan.
Yeah, real quick. In my previous working career, 30 plus years, I had to adhere to city policy, local laws, state laws, federal laws. And as a supervisor, I found that when you have policies and procedures, the minute you go to the left or to the right of something that's black and white, you've opened the door. And now I'm not disagreeing that Mr. Brown did wonders for the city, but the minute we make a concession, you better be prepared for making more concessions. And I think that the first thing that needs to be done, if this is the route we need to go, is to change the policy. Do you make it 5 years, 2 years, 1 year? I don't know. And go down that route. But unfortunately, the policy states 10 years. And as commissioners, we're supposed to adhere to city policies and city regulations. And I think this is just one of those things where, unfortunately, it doesn't meet the criteria.
All right. Thank you, Commissioner Cadigan. Any other commissioners before we go to vote on the motion that's on the table currently? Commissioner Avery.
Yes, I'd like to know how long has this been in effect, this 10-year rule? Do you know? For how many years has this been?
It's my understanding that this policy was written back in 2008.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
And prior to that, there was no policy in place. And policy was written by Resource Management Department.
Commissioner Daniels.
I would just like some clarification on the motion. I thought we were just making a recommendation and we have neither the power to accept or deny the application.
Thanks, Commissioner Daniels. I believe the motion is to recommend that we deny based on not having enough time in office. Does that answer your question?
Yes, sir.
I'm not a sir. That's my dad. Okay, Mr. Mewis, I had a question for you, actually. If that's okay.
Yeah.
So in the capacity of us, this is all theoretical. The capacity of us moving to deny this motion, could we also recommend to the city council to reconsider the time? And I guess I'll start there, then I have one more question.
Yeah, that could be put in the staff report for the next meeting, for the council meeting, that the commission, hypothetically, the commission voted to deny the application based on the criteria for the years served. However, the commission is recommending to update the policy to change that time served to whatever, you guys, if you came to the conclusion of 5 years or whatever that magic number would be. And then the council could then make their decision based on that recommendation.
Okay, I'm gonna follow with another hypothetical. So hypothetically then, if we were to deny it based on the letter of the law, as Commissioner Cadigan has eloquently stated, and then we recommended in theory that then we, as a joint, two commissions recommend that either a full term of office or 5 years, we can make that recommendation to the city council and they go from there. Is that accurate?
Correct.
Okay, I said that question. I'm sorry. Commissioner Tyler.
Yes, why are we thinking in terms of 5 years? I mean, I think if we just kick the can down the road, that's what we're doing with 5 years. Why don't we just say 4 years to accommodate the request from our public to include Mr. Brown, who served for 4 years. 5 years would exclude him.
Okay, appreciate that. I can see your hand now, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Brown, please go ahead.
Thank you. So yeah, I have two questions. Thank you very much. One is a follow up to your hypothetical, which is could we, instead of a specific term of years, could it be what you said, like the term of office, like one term of office? So whatever that is, could it be that? And then two, related to that, I was wondering about like a job application, if it says, these are the factors that are considered, if they're all weighted equally, or if it's, if the language is altered by one of the city lawyers that says, we consider these terms, and if the service outweighs like that, if you don't want to change, if most of the committee doesn't want to change the 10 years and would rather say, circumstances may outweigh the tenure, if that would be viable, and if we wanted to consider that when making our motion. So that's point one, just bringing it up for discussion related to the motion. And then two, I don't see, and forgive me, this is my first ball game with naming a street. So what I don't see, and I wasn't in the city when Mr. Brown served, and then two, I don't see on any of the material that we were given the placement of the street or street under consideration. That may be the cart before the horse, but when we make a motion, I don't know if that's pertinent or not. Like if there were, there was a building at CSUMB that in the seaside part that had a little street next to them or something like that, that could go along with that. So that just seemed a piece of information that might be helpful in making a recommendation. So I just wanted to bring that up. And it may not be part of the policy. I was just wondering. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Brown. Commissioner Avery.
Yes.
Your hand is still raised. I didn't want to
Oh, it
skip
is?
you.
Oh, I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I didn't raise my hand. I'm sorry. I don't know why. Maybe it's stuck or something.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
it's no
think
problem.
But I,
lower it.
I didn't raise it, but well, since we're on maybe like someone had stated not to do years, but maybe a term, I would think that would probably be more appropriate.
Okay. Commissioner Moulton.
Thank you. My question is for Mr. Mewis. Is there any current waiver available to the applicant where they can ask for a waiver of part of that policy in order to say, hey, he doesn't meet this criteria for years of service? Can I have that waived? Is that something that's currently available with the city, something that the applicant can do?
That's a good question. While there's nothing really in stone on that with this application, I believe essentially she's kind of asking for that waiver now by coming to you with that. It's not officially in the document, which we could probably, make that recommendation as well to council to update the document with that. So that could be another part of the Joint Commission's recommendation.
Thank you. Commissioner Gaines Lynch.
Yes, I'd like to ask, the city manager is a paid position, am I not correct?
That is correct.
So if we read a naming criteria and under 6 bullet point F, it says has volunteered for 10 years or more. Not as a paid person, but volunteered. So there you go.
That's just an extra piece of the criteria. So if he would have at some point had any volunteer service with the city, that could have as well been included. But to answer the question before from Commissioner Brown, in regards to the terms of service, so that brings up a good point with Commissioner Gaines Lynch too. It's because he is an employee. He was an employee. There was no term of service on there. So that recommendation to update that would probably, we wouldn't necessarily be, you'd have to include something else in order just terms of service. But you can make that recommendation to have that kind of dissemination of how his actions while in office or in the position outweighed the term of service limit too. So there's definitely a couple different ways around that. And then in regards to the actual location, it was in the application for to be one of the new streets in the development at the golf course.
Thank you, Dan. Bear with me, I apologize. 2 questions really fast. So first question, if we were to make that suggestion, would that be on addition to the motion or a suggestion on the motion, or for one of these commissioners to make, or just an assumption?
It would be amendment to the motion.
You can make a friendly amendment.
Right. A person who made the motion would have to agree to amend it.
Thank you. I appreciate that, guys. Sorry, in my ignorance. Second question, Mr. Mewis, in theory, again, if all hypothetical, we deny it today based on the reasons Mr. Cadigan gave, with the suggestion, if someone makes it, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't, someone makes a friendly amendment, it goes to city council, would Ms. Brown then apply again, or we revisit the application when the city council makes whatever decision they make?
Sorry, can you repeat that?
Yes. Would the application kind of go into flux until the city council considers our recommendation, or would that she then have to apply a second time? And my question then is, how many applications can one person put in for one street?
I think that if, and I could be mistaken here, if your recommendation goes to council and then the council then, let's say, upholds the recommendation to deny it, I mean, she could potentially reapply again, but maybe for something else, not necessarily a street, because there's other options on there. And that would be, you know, up to the council then. But I believe there's nothing in the policy that says you can't reapply multiple times. I mean, maybe another commission, you know, in 5 years down the road would make a different, or another council could make a different, you know, motion on it or ruling on it.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to clarify, just so we understood all the things going into this. Does anybody else have anything else on the question or a friendly amendment? Oh, Ms. Commissioner Nielsen.
Thank you, Chairperson Pacheco. I wanted to clarify, we're talking about the criteria. It says it shall be based on the following criteria. It does not say all of that criteria is required. It's kind of, it's not really to the point. And I'm wondering if, Dan, are you able to clarify if it means they have to meet all of that criteria, or it's based on these different pieces of criteria?
The way I read it is that it's based on all the, like each different piece of criteria. It doesn't necessarily, like you make a good point. It doesn't say that every one of these items must be met. And that's why, in theory, it is going to multiple commissions to make this recommendation, to get different viewpoints on how they view the policy and how they view the criteria.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, we do have a motion we need to vote on. So,
Calling for the question. Bring it back in to vote.
Could somebody
Yeah.
repeat?
Sure. Commissioner Cadigan, can you restate your motion?
Yeah, my motion was to deny the application due to the fact that it does not meet the current criteria of the current City of Seaside policy and procedure.
And who seconded that?
Commissioner Maxwell.
All right, so we can take it out to a vote.
Okay.
Terry or Sarah, how many members do we have on the call right now?
It looks like 19, but I believe, you know,
How many
4 of us are staff.
How many commissioners?
11 commissioners. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 11.
Okay, so it would take 6 votes to pass this motion. So I will start with a roll call vote. Commissioner, so you're voting to deny the application or to recommend denial. Commissioner Avery.
No.
Commissioner Silveria.
No.
Is Commissioner Russell on the call?
Yep. Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, what's your vote?
Following policy, and this isn't barring the person from reapplying, right?
It's not, no, this is just your recommendation to go to the city council on the policy you received and your review of it.
I say then aye.
You said aye, okay. Commissioner Brown.
I guess qualified aye.
Chair Tyler.
Same, aye.
Okay, moving on to Parks and Recreation. Commissioner Daniels.
No.
Commissioner Moulton,
No.
Commissioner Nielsen,
Yes.
Commissioner Gray,
Here, no.
Commissioner Gaines Lynch,
Aye.
Commissioner White,
No.
Commissioner Cadigan,
Aye, yes.
Vice Chair Maxwell,
Aye.
Chair Pacheco.
Aye.
All right, Terry or Sarah, can you please give me the count?
8 ayes. And 6 nays.
Okay, the motion passes 8-6.
Okay, that feels crummy. All right, so that is our only item of business. So moving on to item number 3.
And just for the record, just because the commission voted to not recommend it, it is still going to the city council.
Thank you.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
I second. Gaines Lynch.
All right, I don't think we necessarily need to do a roll call vote here. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Thanks everyone for participating in the special meeting.